Well, hey guys, thanks for tuning back into my channel, and I'm in my studio. It is not 100% complete, but it is good enough for me to get back to doing videos again and tutorials, because the way I had it before, it was just not working for me. I struggled. We had to tear apart my craft room studio because we're remodeling our house, and we had to replace all of the panels, all of our walls in this whole room. And we are down to only needing 2 more walls, and they're that way. So you can't really see that there really isn't a wall there. But for the most part, my little corner of my studio is completely done. And so I can get back to doing these tutorials. And today is Friday, August 26th, and 2 days ago I spent 10 hours putting this room together. I had to paint this wall, I had to paint the wall back there, and I had to put everything up because I needed my studio back. I tried to do tutorials on this little folding table, and everything I had were in boxes. So all of my paints were in a box, and I had to dig through the box in order to find the paints that I wanted. All of my vinyl for my Parrakeet, all of my mica powders, everything was in boxes because we were remodeling this room. And so we are about 98% done. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna purge stuff that I'm not gonna use, that I've not touched in at least a year and a half, and then everything else is going up onto my walls or into my drawers. And so finally I am able to make these tutorials. So I went to Dollar Tree. I really should not do this because I just got done purging, but went to Dollar Tree, and guess what they had out? Not only fall stuff, I understand that, but they had Halloween stuff. And you guys know that this is the current project right here. And you see, I had to stop and not do the wall because I just didn't have the space. So we get to start on that. But that's not today's tutorial. I went to Dollar Tree and I found some really great stuff that inspired me to think ahead to Halloween, because I don't feel that tree trunk is going to be done by the time I want to do a diorama on the outside for fall, but I know it'll be done for Halloween. So I picked up some Halloween stuff. Not a lot, just a few items. Most of the stuff is already at Dollar Tree. Most of the stuff are already carried all the time. Some of the stuff came from Walmart, like my paints came from Walmart. But let me show you what I picked up and what we're going to build. I'm so excited about this. All right, so from Dollar Tree, I picked up some of this floral wire. I have had this, and you saw from my previous tutorials, I used to have 2 of these, and I still have one of these that's not opened, but I can't find it. I'm not 100% unpacked. I still got 3 drawers to go through in a box, but I got some of this grape wire from Hobby Lobby. I've got some, I do believe this is 22 gauge wire, and I got this from Home Depot, I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago, and I still have a ton of this stuff. I got, alright, so this is that air dry foamy clay, and it doesn't matter what color. I would say don't pick anything black. Well, you could, but I'm going to do white because I'm going to paint this. And at Dollar Tree, they brought out their little Halloween lights, and so I got this little set, it's upside down, this little 10 set of Halloween lights, and they're in orange. So I got this little battery operated. Back in St. Patrick's Day, they were selling these cauldrons in packs of 5, and so I still have 5. I'm gonna have 4. So can you guess what I'm gonna make? Yes. Got googly eyes from the Crafter Square location of the Dollar Tree. I got, okay, so you get these when you get like containers to go and you get this little clear piece of plastic, you'll need one of those. I have air dry clay that I'm going to use. Neon green paint. Some elephant gray paint. Some nutmeg brown. And some burnt umber. And I'm going to insert a picture right here of, these came from Dollar Tree. They're little tiny skulls. See the little skulls? And they come, supposed to come 3 in a pack. Here's the other one. And they are attached to these bows. Went to my Dollar Tree today, and I had gotten these probably like a week ago. I went to my Dollar Tree today to take a picture of the bows because I took these off the bows and threw the bows away. I didn't even think about leaving them on the card. But I went to my Dollar Tree and people have taken these little skulls off and they left the bows. There was like 6 cards. There was 4 black and 2 orange, and none of them had any skulls on them. They had been pulled off. So people are taking these little skulls. So if you can find them, you're gonna need some skulls. And I only got 3, so that's what I'm gonna work with. And so what we're going to make is a little witch's cauldron and a witch. So the wire, the grape wire, I'm gonna remove the vine part of it and just use the wire to make the armature of the witch that will be stirring the pot. But I'm also going to keep some of this vine wrapped up so I can put it in the cauldron and have her stirring it. Now, I haven't picked up the motor yet, but I actually want her to stir it. But this armature is not going to be posable. I will make another witch later on for another cauldron and have her actually motorized. I'm working on the motor, so that might be a bit. But let's get to building this cauldron, this Halloween cauldron for my tree stump. I'm so excited. All right, let's get going. Oh, and I'm so excited I forgot. Going to need masking tape and aluminum foil. Due to the fact that this is going to be noisy making this armature, I'm actually going to do a voiceover. All right, so let's get to making this witch. All right, so here I am cutting off a length of this grapevine wire, and I'm using the cauldron to measure how tall my witch needs to be. I actually bent the bottom for feet, thinking I was going to make feet, and I totally forgot I needed to mount this armature onto a piece of wood. So later on you're going to see that I needed to put her on a piece of wood, and I didn't include that in the descriptions in the beginning. This is my very first armature that I have ever made. So here I am making the arms. I'm taking off the coating and using some of that Home Depot wire, which did not work out. I got it on there partially, realized that this is just too thick of a wire to really wrap around. So I took it off and I grabbed that Dollar Tree wire, and it was absolutely perfect. It needed to be a very small wires. Now my armature metal part is built. So now I'm going to grab some aluminum foil and ball it up and stuff it into the chest part. And then I'm going to grab some masking tape, and I'm going to tape the masking tape in around the aluminum foil to get it so that the clay will actually adhere to it. It likes to do to the tape rather than to the aluminum foil. So now I'm going to pull out my Scupley bake clay, and I'm going to roll this out, and then I'm going to put it on the body. I'm making the top part of the body right now, the top of the dress. So I'm measuring the top of the dress, and now I'm going to put it on, and I have to taper it down because the waist is tapered. So I have to cut some of the clay off the bottom so that it tapers down. And push it all together, make sure I get rid of all the seams. Then I'm going to put the top on, top part of the dress over the top, make that seamless, and then I'm going to start on the shoulders, but not the sleeves, just the shoulders. And then I'm going to start on the dress itself, the skirt. So I'm going to roll myself out some more clay, fairly thin again, and I'm going to do a little measurement of the armature and make sure that this fits. It ended up being too small, so I had to add a little bit more clay. When I cut it down, I realized that's too short of a skirt. So now I'm going to measure the skirt and give it a cut, and then I am going to pleat it by folding it. So I'm folding it, and then I'm going to add it to the skirt, and then turn it over and make the back part of the skirt. And this is when I realized, oh my goodness, she needs to be on a base, because I'm going to totally ruin her skirt, because there's no way she's going to stand. There's no way she's going to stand at all. But I decided I needed to make the back part of her skirt first. So I attached the back part of her skirt. Pinched the two sides together. So her skirt is now completely done.
Well, I ended up having to make a base for my witch, because laying down, she's messing up her skirt.
So this ended up being one of the longer pieces of the craft wood from Dollar Tree, and I cut it in half. So one half is actually under her. I put her legs through the hole and bent them up, and then I put some wood glue on the second half and stuck it to the other half, actually, after I hot glued her feet in. So I put some hot glue there, and then I'm going to put the other half of that and clamp it together with those little Dollar Tree clamps. And while I was waiting for it to cure, I finished building her dress. So I'll just let you watch me build her dress. Hey, if you'd like to help support my channel, come on over to buymeacoffee.com. Buy me a cup of coffee and tell me about yourself. And if you want a shout out, just let me know, leave me a message, and I'll give you a shout out here on my channel. So the link to the buymeacoffee.com is below. Are you enjoying this video so far? I sure hope you are. And you know what? If you are, please hit that like button. And why not hit that subscribe button while you're at it? It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying my content and that you want me to continue making these videos for you. So head on over, click the like button, click the subscribe button, and if you want to get notified when I upload a new video, hit that notification bell and choose all notifications, and that way you get notified when I upload another one of these videos. So here I'm making her face, and balled up some aluminum foil and put a bit of clay on there. I put her head on a little plastic, this is a Dollar Tree, pink Dollar Tree, poking tool, and I just poked her head and to give me a handle to hold on to. And then I used my large ball tool to make her eye sockets, and then created her a couple of little eyeballs, and then rolled myself out some really super thin rolls of clay to make her eyelids, her bottom and top eyelids. I am going to make her a Tim Burton style with large eyes. So this is why she looks like she has frog eyes. She continues to look like she has frog eyes. And I'm doing her nose, and I realized, yeah, I didn't quite do the nose just right. So I added another little piece up underneath the original part of the nose. I'm not thoroughly happy with the nose, but again, this was my first time, so I am learning as I go. So now I'm adding some cheekbones to her on each side, and I want them kind of thin because most witches are very hollowed out. So she has cheekbones, but they're hollowed out. And then I'm going to texture them like she has a lot of scars and wrinkles, and, you know, just her face is just, you know, bumpy. That's what I was trying to go for, a bumpy cheek. And now I made her chin, her little pointy chin, and I added that on to the bottom of her head. And now I'm making her lip. This is her lower lip I'm making. So make a little triangle and put it down on top there over the top of the chin. And now I'm making the upper lip, and it's a little tube, and then you shape it kind of like a flat heart. It's kind of hard to describe. It's a little flat heart. So you're making the upper lip, and so I'm trying to get up close, but then of course my light decides to reflect on this white, so you can't really see what I'm doing. Now you can see a little bit better. And so the next time I do a face, I will do a better job and not getting a huge reflection on how to do the face part. So now I'm putting on her brows, and this is, I'm not going to do the top of her head. I actually put a piece on there, and then I ended up taking it off because, again, put her hat on. But she needed a brow because everybody has a brow. So I'm smoothing that out, and then I made this piece to put on. So I thought, oh wow, her head looks awful flat. Then I started making her hat, and so at first I tried to roll a piece and realized I just needed a little piece of aluminum foil. So I folded aluminum foil up there to make it into a cone, cut it off. Sorry you couldn't see that. And then I covered it in the clay and then tested to see if it was the right size. Realized I just didn't need that little piece on the top of her head. And now I'm making the brim of her hat and adding it to her hat, and I'm sealing it all up and making sure that there's no seams. Take that piece off there. And then I put her hat on her head, and I made sure to press it down so that it makes a good seal, because I don't have any Bacon Bond. So now I'm making her ears, and this is my first time making ears, and not too happy about how I made her ears. But again, I'm still learning how to do this. I should practice some more, but she's supposed to be an ugly witch. She's not supposed to be beautiful. So as I learn to make facial features, I will get better. So there's her other ear, and now her ears are done. All done. And so now I'm just going to texture and sculpt her face just a little bit more. And I'll let you watch some texturing. Now I'm going to put it onto her body. So now I'm taking a piece of, took a piece of wire and I put it down inside, and then I put a neck on her, and I'm making sure that neck's bonded. Now I'm going to put her head on there and make sure it's all attached. And then I'm going to add a little bit more clay on the back part because you're not going to see that. She's going to have hair, so you're not going to see the back of her neck. So I'm making sure that I build up from the body to the head so that it has a nice cohesion. So now I am making the arm flaps because, you know, they have the flaps on their sleeves. So I'm making the little sleeve flaps that go on her arms. I'm going to texture those and make them kind of raggedy. And I scrape my tools. I have, these are fondant tools. They're the plastic fondant tools you get at Dollar Tree. And so I'm scraping it to make it kind of ragged. So you don't have to spend a whole lot of money on the tools. They carry them at Dollar Tree right there in the baking department. So I've been using these for a long time. I do a lot of clay, not necessarily this armature, but I've had these tools for a long while. When I've been doing gnomes, I use these. Alright, so now I'm making her hands, and she only has 3 fingers and a thumb. And you can't really see me making this. My camera is absolutely horrible for this. I will, when I get a little bit better in making hands, I will show you how I make my hands, but I'm still learning how to make them, so I did not show up close. So here I am getting her all set for her to be in the cauldron, and I was trying to set her arms up just right because I'm getting ready to bake her. So I put the stick in there. She's all ready to be baked in the oven, and when she comes out and all cool, it'll be time to paint her. Alright, she's now all baked, and so now I'm going to take some air dry clay, and I'm building her base because I don't want to put her back in the oven after doing this. You can, if you want to do another set of baked clay, you totally can, but I was almost out of baked clay. I barely had enough to make hers, but I have a whole bunch of air dry clay, so I chose to make her base out of the air dry clay. It really didn't want to stick to the wood, but I wrapped it all the way around. There was no place but it to stick to itself, so eventually it stuck. Now I'm doing some texturing to the base. So I'm taking my Explorer tool. I got this at Harbor Freight, and now I needed to put it on a piece of wax so that it wouldn't like stick to my silicone really bad. But I'm taking my Explorer tool and I'm actually dragging it across the air dry clay, making it look almost like wood. I didn't know where I was going with that. Originally, I wanted to try to make it look like grass, but it ended up looking like wood, so I went with wood. So now, here I am. I'm going to paint this now that it's all nice and dry. So there's some burnt umber, and I'm going to pour me out some burnt umber, take a 3/4 inch paintbrush, and I'm going to paint the bottom. No, it was a 5/8. Sorry, that was a 5/8 paintbrush. And I'm going to paint the whole base with a burnt umber. All the way around, sides, and the bottom. Up underneath the skirt, everywhere. Now I'm taking my smaller detail brush. I do believe that this was a 1. And I'm going around the skirt and I'm catching all of the little areas that I missed, that I could see the white through the burnt umber, to make sure that no white shows. I want 0 white. So I'm using my little detail brush. And then I'm going to go back with my 5/8 brush and do around the edge and I'm seeing where I missed some spots. I find painting so therapeutic. How about you guys? I love to paint. Alright, so let's paint her dress. We're going to use black. And then we're going to use some mica powder on her to make her kind of shimmery after the fact. But we're going to take a paintbrush here, and we're just going to paint her dress and everything on her dress parts black.
So I cut a little paintbrush because I don't have a stippling brush, and you know, this was 25 cents or whatever. But now I'm going to lightly dry stipple a little bit of burnt umber and some burnt umber onto this. So what I'm going to do, because I want it so very, very light, alright, it's time to do her face and hands. So what I have here is a little bit of Parrakeet, a little bit of spring green, and a little bit of neon green mixed together.
All right, it is now time to paint the lips and her eyes. So I have chosen to use neon green for her lips. So just straight neon green, no other added colors whatsoever. And I'm going to paint her big, fat lips. I did not know that her lips were going to be just so big. But hey, she's an ugly, wicked witch. So she's gonna have some ugly lips. I didn't do a tooth. I probably should have done a tooth, but you know, hindsight 2020, I did not make a tooth. Maybe the next time I make a witch, I might make a tooth. Oh, and a wart. I forgot the wart. But this was my very, very first armature that I had ever made. So I think I did pretty good making an ugly witch. So what do you think? You think I did okay for my very first time? I wanted her to have an ugly face and ugly hands. And I think I achieved that. I really do. So I made her in a Tim Burton fashion. So she's going to have white eyes with a single little dot for a pupil. And that is it. She's not going to have any other colors or anything. So here I am painting the eyeballs. So I'm going to paint them white with I think this is a 00 brush, if I'm right. It might be a single zero, but I'm pretty sure it's a 00 because it's a very tiny, tiny brush. And I'm going to get into all the little nooks and crannies of this witch's eyeballs. So next up, her lips and her face and her eyes are now dry. So now I'm going to take a little bit of black, and this is definitely a 0 brush. The other one was a 00. And I'm painting little black nails on all of her fingers. Makes her hand look so much better. I am not very good with hands. I've not made very many clay hands, and especially this small. Normally I just make little balls for gnomes, and so this time I had to make fingers and a thumb, and so this was my first time. Now it's time to put her little eyeball on. So I have this little tiny dotting tool, and I dip it in the black, and I just touch her eye, and there you go. Her eyes are done, Tim Burton style. So now I'm going to grab some of my mica powder, and this is actually called bronze. Believe it, but it's green. It's called bronze, but it's green. So weird. So I'm going to put this all over her face, all over around her eyes, her cheekbones, her nose, her chin, just to give her some little bit of a shimmer. And I'm going to put a little bit on her hands. She's starting to look a little creepy, I'd say. I mean, like a lot creepy. Ugh. She creeps me out. I didn't think she'd be so creepy. What do you think?
Alright, so now that she's all done being painted, I do have a spot there, but it's time for the next step. What do you think's missing off of her? Hair. So this is a ball of yarn. It's the loose type of yarn, and I just cut a piece off and I unraveled it. This is just one piece, and I'm going to just glue it to her head, and then I'm going to give her a haircut after I get it on there. So I'm going to take some gem tack and glue it up under her hair. or her hat.